Good morning. Welcome to Stadia Talk. So this podcast is basically geared around Google Stadia. I am excited about this new platform that's basically a cloud gaming platform. So if you're not familiar, Google believes that they can challenge the gaming industry because they don't need boxes. Where PlayStation, Xbox, you got to have a box, you got to upgrade, you got to put the hard drive space in there. Then you also got to deal with loading and all this other stuff and updating games, and it can really get in the way of gaming. And they believe they could cut all that out and still bring you crisp gaming to you without you having to do all that. In fact, what even makes it better is they think that what makes them stand out is the startup cost is going to be cheaper than what it would cost for something like a PlayStation or Xbox. With a PlayStation or Xbox, you got to buy a gaming box, and that can be up to $200, $300, $400. With Stadia, for a lot of people, you already have most of the stuff in your house. You got an internet connection. Most of you probably got a Chromecast Ultra. Only thing you may need is a Chromebook, which a lot of people probably have, or a computer that goes into the Chrome browser, which, again, people have already. Now, as far as experiencing the best of gaming, they recommend that you use their controller, even though you can use any controller or keyboard. Now, their controller is going to be average around $60, $70. But if you look at it, so let's just say all you got to do is pay $70. $70 just to get started to play games? Man, that is still cheaper than what you're going to pay through Xbox or PlayStation. But really, the devil's going to be in the details. Can they give you what they're promising? And we still have ways to go. Reading up on a lot of forums and reading up on websites. Now, they're not going to be a way to beta test it. In fact, those of you who sign up to be basically an early adopter that comes in November, you probably are going to be the beta tester. And that's going to be me too, as I signed up as well. So you're basically paying $129 to get a controller, then 3 months of premium, as well as be their beta tester. So now they promise and believe that this is not going to be a problem when it comes time to get this thing out there, that it's going to work like it's supposed to. You're not going to have any issues, but anyone who's been around technology, you know that it's not the case. Anytime you turn something on, you put a load on it, you put it to the challenge, you're going to have issues. That's just part of it. It's just going to be the matter of what issues that come up and how it's going to be addressed and, how it's going to affect gaming overall. Now, for me, let me give you a background on my gaming experience. I am just a casual gamer. So for me, I'm someone who just always on the go. And this interests me because I don't have time to sit back and wait for games to update and download and all this other stuff. I want to be take the little bit of time I do have the game and play it, and then get back to it later, as well as have the ability to go to play on the go. And I feel like this is going to fulfill all of that. Now, we talked about the devil being in the details, and we may have the devil right in front of us. So, a commenter, Mr. Drone Wolf Media, made a comment around data caps. And, he had made this comment 2 weeks ago. And in fact, his comment is what started and sparked up Stadia Talk, what I'm doing now. And then right after him, another commenter commented on something similar. And then I started looking around through Reddit, and this is a common question. What about these data caps? Because you do have ISPs that will cap your data, and with running 4K gaming at the frame rates that they're talking about, it may not be long before you hit that data cap. One person project you can hit that data cap in about 60 hours of gaming, which means for a lot of people who may game, let's just say you game on average, right? Maybe 8 hours a week, you're probably going to be fine. But for those that game hardcore game, that for 15 to 20 hours a week, that's going to be a problem because that means they're going to be hitting the data cap, quickly, So let's go ahead and talk about this data cap because I think this is something that really needs to be discussed. Now, I am going to GameSpot because they actually had an interview with Phil Harrison, and he was talking about his thought process on how the data cap is going to play out. Now, he don't think this is going to be a problem because he feels that as far as data caps is concerned, one, he feels ISPs are going to wise up and, not going to either going to extend the data caps or make sure that it's going to work for you. And his thought process is because the customers are going to want this and they're going to demand it, and so they're going to make the change. And the other thing he was throwing out there is that people kind of calculating the data caps, they're calculated wrong because they're not taking into account, the simple fact that, Google is going to be using some sort of compression to make this happen, to make this work. Now, let me go ahead and talk about this for a second. And pick that apart. First, let's go with the compression thing. Now, if you guys are compressing it and using some type of technology where it limits how much data is going to be shown on the ISP, I mean, that would be awesome. I think you might want to share that, give people an idea what they got to deal with and what to expect as far as how much data they're going to be consuming when they play it. But the second part, because I have a problem with that one, and that is you hedging your bet on the simple fact that the ISP is going to give you more data room. And to me, I have a problem with someone like that making that kind of comment. First of all, yes, I understand you saying this is the future. They're going to have to make that change. But really, they don't. Companies are in this to make money. And if they know that something like a Stadia is about to come by and force people to bust their data caps, why would you change that? Because automatically I'm about to make money right now because this guy's about to bust his data cap, and that means you're going to pay extra to keep going. Why would you change that just because, this hot new gaming system's there? Because Google Stadia is around. They may give you an option to have maybe 2 or 3 months to try the latest data tier, but what they're going to do is tell you, you know what, we got this next tier up here that you can pay extra for so you can have gaming. And we know this is coming out. I called Comcast right before I started the show. Now, thankfully, they don't have data caps, but they do have sort of like a tiered speed data where you can have 400 megabytes per second, up to 900 megabytes per second, and obviously 200 megabytes per second. If you have the 200 megabytes per second, 400 megabytes per second, 900 megabytes per second, and that's what they're offering, and the price differences is significant between the three. That means they know they're about to make some money. This is a money-making move. And you're going to have companies like Comcast who are game for making money. You're going to tell me who they're big on the data cap because they see what's coming and they're going to change because you're there? They're going to make it easier for, quote, the customers? No, I don't see that. And that's Comcast. Anyone who dealt with Comcast, you know what you're getting out of them. And, and unfortunately, we are in an area when it comes to cable, you can't quite switch to someone else. Cables are kind of like a monopoly. Wherever your cable provider is in that city, for most people, you cannot just say, I want the competition, because if that's all that is there is Comcast, that's all you get. The only way you can have competition if there's like an AT&T or a Google Fiber or something else that's in the area that could be a substitute service for them. But if all you have is that cable company, that's it. In my area, I have Charter. I can't, ask for, hey, bring a Comcast truck here or some other company truck here. In fact, I can't even get AT&T fiber in the location I'm at right now because they don't serve this area because obviously it's a spectrum area. So we do have, or cable companies know they have the backing of being a monopoly. So why would they change? What will force them to change? There's nothing there that will make them say, you know what, I'm going to come up off this money right here to make sure you are able to play your games. No. In order to make them change, you got to have competition. And really, the only way that this is going to change is if you have a 5G company that is able to come here and say, you know what, you're going to charge this, I'm going to charge this and not have a data cap. And then you have that change. But we know that that's likely not going to be the case. Because let's just say Verizon come in the area and they know that this is a hot area making money. They're going to have the data caps. They already have data caps now. So it won't be much to make that happen later when they have 5G. And it's going to be there. And they're going to capitalize on the money. So no matter whether you decide to stay with your current ISP or you decide to go someplace like a wireless carrier, you're going to run into data caps. And this is something that is a concern for people who want to run this. What's going to happen with data caps? Especially if you're in an area where your cable provider is just garbage, so you're having to rely on, high-speed data from a cell phone company. That means you have to deal with a data cap. And I can see why people are saying, yeah, for me, this might not work. And if you're in an area where you having to rely on a wireless carrier for all your data, you are not going to want to take the risk of it busting those data caps. And for you, it makes sense for you to bypass this and maybe look at something like an Xbox or PlayStation and just avoid online gaming. Now, for those who are not having to worry about data caps, if your ISP is going to allow you to play games and not cap you and not slow you down, then this is going to be awesome, And this is going to be something that, as we prepare and get closer to November and Stadia gets out here, we're going to need to dice this up and understand the limitations that's going to be a problem for those of us who want to adopt this and figure out what we're going to have to do to make sure this works for us. And as we continue on seeing people bring up questions and they get answered, we see the answers to these questions, you're going to know if this is going to be for you. And again, if you're someone who having to worry about data caps, for right now, I may tell you or have to suggest to you, be cautious on this, because Phil Harrison's response on, and by the way, Phil Harrison, I should have said this at the beginning, he's the vice president and general manager of Google, and his response being that he thinks it's going to change. Again, he may have an idea of thinking this is the future, but Google don't make the world go round. His company is not going to be able to go up to Charter and say, you will not have a data cap. Or to Verizon and say, you will not have a data cap. That's not going to work. So, you can't go off of that. You can't go up calling Verizon and say, look, man, I bust my data cap, but Mr. Phil Harrison at Google said, you know what, you're going to extend that. Is that true? Man, they want to sit there like, I don't know who Phil Harrison is, but here's your bill, go ahead and pay this money. So, in all seriousness, as we get closer to having this come up, hopefully we do see a clear answer for not just Google, but from ISPs on how they're going to handle this so that you, the user, can get an idea whether this is going to be right for you. Anyway, that was a quick topic I have from Google Stadia Talk. This is PC747, and I am with the neXup.com. You can find more of my content there. Also, you can, if you're interested in something outside of just Stadia Talk, you want to talk about phones and technology around consumer tech, I do a podcast every week on Fridays called the neXup Podcast. And you can find that on SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys for joining me for today's quick show. Like you, I look forward to seeing how this Stadia pan out, and I can't wait to get my controller in hand and start gaming. I'm out.